But it says 106.
Yeah, that's what she estimated. She estimated she left her apartment and arrived at the corner of 10th and Patton around 106, 107, in 6 or 7 minutes. But if you're going to believe that that's accurate, then you have to discount the police tapes. So T.F. Bowling is the guy who reported the shooting on Tippit's patrol car radio.
Of course, the police always tell you.
What's that?
Police always tell you. Right?
So what do you mean by that then?
How can you believe anything the police say?
So do you have it? Hey, you know, again, I'm open to seeing evidence that the police. Are you saying the police tapes are being fudged?
I'm just saying the police could have lied to you.
Okay, so T.F. Bowley.
Bowley makes the report at 117. Bowley tells you what he does when he arrives on the scene. He says he arrived on the scene, got out of his car. Yes, he looked at his watch. He said his watch said it was 110. He walked over to the body, noticed there was nothing he could do for the body. Then he goes over to Benavides and takes the mic from Benavides and reports it. The whole process takes a minute at the most. And he reports the shooting at 117, so Bowley didn't arrive at 110. His watch was off a little bit. If you believe the shooting happened at 106, then you have to believe that Tippit was lying in the street for almost 10 minutes before anybody reported it. And that's kind of hard to believe. 10 minutes. I mean, literally 10 minutes lying in the street.
Difference of opinion.
Well, so in your opinion, though, Tippit was lying in the street for 10 minutes before anybody reported it?
I didn't know the time frame that Bowley supposedly used radio.
He used radio at 117. I mean, this is documented. And unless you believe the police tapes have been fudged.
I've got most of the transcripts on Channel 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's,
I just didn't remember the time.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But if you you could actually listen to the times. Anyway, you can listen to the tapes from 12:30 to Oswald's arrest at 1:50. And Bowley's
not there.
No, well, I say 12:30, meaning the assassination. You can listen to the police tapes from 12:30 to 1:50, which is when he's arrested. And Bowley makes his report at 1:17. And if you believe that Markham is correct about her 106, 107, then you're saying that Tippit was lying in the street for 10 minutes. And I choose to believe that Markham was misestimating the time as opposed to Tippit lying there for 10 minutes.
I believe she could have been wrong about that.
Yeah, there you go.
I do.
Yeah, but, you know, I don't believe that he was lying in the street for 10 minutes by himself because he arrived DOA at Methodist Hospital at 1:15.
But that document doesn't even say that. It doesn't say, no, but it doesn't say he was DOA at 1:15. It says he arrived DOA and the time of death was 1:15. There's a difference. Well, there's a difference. It doesn't say DOA at 1:15.
My father-in-law died on December 15th at 11 o'clock. The medical examiner didn't show up until almost 1, so he put his time of death at 1 o'clock on the 16th. Okay, that's an official document when he arrived at Methodist Hospital at 1:15.
But that doesn't say DOA at 1:15. It says he arrived DOA and the time of death was 1:15. I don't have to look at it. I know what it says.
I understand, but again, it's an official document that he arrived DOA at 1:15.
It doesn't say he arrived DOA at 1:15. It says he arrived DOA and the time of death was 1:15. That's two completely different things.
Exactly, but again, like I said, my father-in-law died on December 15th at 11 o'clock at night. The medical examiner didn't show up to 1. I was there when he died. I know what fucking time he died.
Yeah, I
but
don't
what's
know
the
anything
document
about
say? December 16th.
Yeah, I don't know anything about your father-in-law, obviously.
But it's the same thing. It's a medical document.
But medical examiners, they do this two different ways, and happens all over the country. They'll either say, they'll estimate the time of death, or they will announce the time of death as when they announce it themselves. There's two different things. So you'll have one medical examiner say,
That wasn't a medical examiner that did that.
I know that, but you'll have one medical examiner or emergency room personnel say the time of death was 1:15, and then you'll have the next one say, well, he arrived at 1:23, so that's the time that we announced him dead, so that's the time of death. It's different from one guy to the next. There's no set in stone rule about that. So whatever happened to your father-in-law, obviously, you could be spot on with that. But the next one would have said 11 instead of 1, or 1 was, I don't know what times it was that you gave. But my point is that doesn't say Tippit arrived DOA at 1:15. It says he arrived DOA, and the time of death was 1:15. That's what it says. All you got to do is look at it.
I did.
But you misquoted what it says.
No, it's an official document.
So open it up again, if you don't mind. I mean, I didn't look at it just now, but I already know what it says.
My point
I have my
is,
readers on.
my point is, that's a document from St. Methodist Hospital.
It says DOA. It says DOA. And it says the time of death is 1:15. It didn't say DOA at 1:15.
DOA, Methodist Hospital. Oh, it's the time of death right there?
Right.
Time of death, 1:15,
Correct.
time of death.
It doesn't say he was DOA at 1:15.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
I disagree. If a guy comes up to you and drives up next to you, you're standing on the sidewalk, and he asks for directions, okay? Is he lost, or is he wanting to find some place to kill somebody? You don't know the fucking difference. Okay? Again, that is a legal document.
Yes, it is.
I've worked in a hospital for 4 years.
But you're just quoting that legal document.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
He arrived at 1:15. He was dead on arrival. He arrived
It
at
doesn't,
1:15.
it doesn't say he arrived at 1:15. It doesn't say that. It says the time of death was 1:15. That's what it says.
Okay, well, JFK's death says 1 o'clock. We don't know he was dead at 12:30.
I totally agree.
Okay, well, the document says 1 o'clock. Why? Because it's an official document in a hospital, just like that.
That is an official document, but you're misquoting what it says.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. He wasn't laying in the street for 10 minutes. He arrived there at 1:15.
That doesn't say he arrived at 1:15.
Dude, you're misconstruing the words. That's the reason why I asked you the question about if somebody asked for directions, is he lost or is he looking to do something nefarious? You don't know.
Let me ask your opinion. Does that document say he arrived at 1:15? Or he arrived?
It says DOA and it says 1:15.
It says he said he was DOA at Methodist Hospital, and the time of death was 1:15 in a separate line. It doesn't say it was pronounced DOA at 1:15. It does not say that, and it's not even trying to say that.
I think that's the way most people would read it.
And not at all. No, no,
That's the way it'd be read in a court of law.
no, it wouldn't.
Yes, it
Absolutely
would.
not. It would not.
Yes,
No,
it
it would
would.
be taken literal for what it says, and what it says.
If you had an affidavit that said an eyewitness saw it at 1:06 and he showed up there at 1:15, that's what's going to be proven in a court of law. It's not going to be proven.
For every marker you have at 106, I have a T at Foley at 117.
That's fine.
Yeah. And why did the witnesses identify Oswald in the lineup, not Roscoe White?
Because Roscoe was never captured.
Right. So these witnesses are looking at a lineup, and even though Roscoe White's the one that killed Tippit, they picked Oswald.
Nobody did pick Oswald.
Sure they did.
No, they didn't. Even Howard Brennan couldn't pick Oswald out of the line.
Well, we're talking about you're right. Brennan just declined to identify anyone.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And when you talk about 10th and Patton, Marvin Davis and Virginia Davis went to a lineup that night. Both of them picked Oswald as the man they saw running across the lawn with a gun. Ted Calloway and Sam Ginyard, they were on Patton.
I immediately told them to say that. Who owned them? Who threatened them?
But why would you automatically go to that for instead of simply accepting that they went to a lineup and picked Oswald? You know?
Well, because according to Butch Burroughs, he came in the theater between 1 and 1:07.
Yeah, but Burroughs doesn't say that until 1987 to Jim Mars for Crossfire, and then he's on the Middlefield Kennedy in '88. In his Warren Commission testimony, he didn't even see Oswald in
He doesn't mention Oswald. That's the
Didn't even
funny
see
thing, he doesn't even mention
And the police, if you read Burroughs' testimony, an officer asked him during the search where they were searching for the guy. One of the officers asked Butch Burroughs, "Have you seen him?" Butch Burroughs says no. It's actually in Butch Burroughs' testimony in '64. But in '87, now all of a sudden he sees Oswald. He sells him popcorn. He gets his face on the Middlefield Kennedy in '88. But it was not at all what he was saying in his Warren Commission testimony. All you got to do is read the testimony.
The Warren Commission. It's the best piece of fiction since Green's Fairy Tale.
But what? So what?
It's an incredibly well-written piece of fiction.
Okay, no disrespect intended. I'm not trying to disrespect either one of you. But no disrespect intended. But every time I record a document or a testimony, that all you're doing is questioning the police. You're questioning who told the witnesses to pick Oswald. You're questioning
Well, because
the testimony.
so many of the eyewitnesses and so many of the people that testified in the Warren Commission claimed their testimony was changed.
There were some, but I don't know if I'd say so many.
Anybody who disagrees
There were
with
some who
the
made
government story was disavowed and not included in the warrant. Anybody and everybody.
Well, that's not true at all. You can read Lee Bauer's testimony. He doesn't jive with the Warren Commission. You can read Arnold Rowell, who's standing here. He's talked about seeing 2 men on the 6th floor. His testimony's right there. You can go read it.
Well, there were 2 men on the 6th floor. One at one corner, one at the other.
Yeah, but you just said that if they didn't say what they wanted to hear, they were disavowed. Well, Rowland's testimony is at their fingertips.
Conclusion is absolute horse pucky. Oswald. So you leave Oswald out?
Completely. because I've never seen evidence otherwise.
Okay. So
Well,
how,
I do too.
okay, so my
No,
question would
you have a right
be,
to.
my question would be, why did the FBI say there were no fingerprints on either of the two weapons? Why did he pass the nitrates test that showed no gunpowder residue?
Well, first of all, he did have nitrate residue on his hands.
From cardboard fibers, not from gunpowder.
But he did have some, right?
Yes, but that's not
He said he
gunpowder.
didn't. No, he had nitrates.
Yeah.
That's positive for nitrates, trace nitrates.
But it's not gunpowder, it's cardboard.
It's nitrates.
Yeah.
You don't know what it's from. It's nitrates. You can't say it's cardboard nitrates. It's nitrates.
If the FBI document says there's nothing we can do to trace into those weapons.
Yeah, and I agree. There's no way we can prove that he's the one that held the rifle and squeezed the trigger. There's no way we could prove.
You just said he did it.
I do believe he did it. Yeah.
But you just said there's no proof that he held the rifle.
His rifle was so two shell cases, two fragments were found in the limo. Commission exhibits 567 and 569. These two fragments were large enough for ballistic testing. And these two fragments were linked to that rifle to the exclusion of any other weapon in the world. And that rifle was purchased by Lee Oswald. And we know Oswald was carrying a package of some sort that morning that was not his lunch. Nobody walks carrying their lunch up underneath their armpit.
Nobody found
How does he
anywhere
carry a
either.
36-inch rifle under his armpit?
Well, let's be honest. He probably wasn't carrying it like this and like this. Bill Fraser was 50 feet behind him. He said I didn't pay much attention. The package could
But
have
again,
been
the FBI report that says there's no fingerprints on either of the two weapons.
J.C. Dave lifted a print from both weapons.
Yeah, after he was dead.
Sure, yeah. Well, they actually had the print before the rifle was sent off to D.C. When the FBI couldn't find the print because they already
Show me that document.
They didn't process it?
Yeah, they had the print before the rifle went to D.C. And then, of course, it goes to D.C.
Then,
The
then
FBI
why
couldn't-
does the FBI document say
The FBI
that the
couldn't-
Dallas Police Department didn't find anything and we can't find anything either?
It doesn't quite say that.
Yes, it does.
But they had the print the whole time. And then when the rifle comes back from D.C., Day has the print and he puts it out there. What do you think? What did J.C. Day do? Go to the morgue and get it off Oswald's? You know, is that?
Agents did show up in the middle of the night and palm printed and fingerprinted. And the mortician even said after they left that he had to clean the Oswald's hands.
Yeah, but he tells you that in
So you don't believe
1988.
that?
He's on the Minute Kill Kennedy in '88. He tells that story.
Yep.
The Minute Kill Kennedy was going to listen to anybody that said any crazy shit. They put him on there.
Just like the one.
Okay. The prints appearing in the photograph taken of the rifle by the Dallas Police Department are too fragmentary and indistinct to be of any value. Photographs of this weapon by the FBI also failed to produce prints of sufficient legibility for comparison purposes. No latent prints of value were developed with Oswald's revolver, the cartridge cases, and upright cartridge, clip of the rifle, or the inner parts of the rifle.
Right.
So,
J.C. Day had the prints off the rifle before it was sent to the
then
FBI.
why does it say?
Because the FBI couldn't get any prints off the rifle because they already lifted the print. They themselves does.
They're saying that they don't have it from the Dallas Police Department.
But when it returns,
I'm totally disagreeing with you.
well,
You're choosing official documents to suit your narrative when the official documents that used for the Warren Commission fits their narrative, and you're saying they're two different things.
what you're doing here is you're completely misrepresenting what the document says. 100%. You're misrepresenting. It's almost like you have to take a deep breath, step back, and read the document again, and you'll see that it doesn't quite say what you're representing it says.
I worked in a hospital for 4 years. I was responsible for medical records. When somebody died and they came in DOA, I put the time they showed up at the hospital on the document. Because I didn't know when they died in the car accident. That's what that document says. That's what that document will prove in a court of law.
It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. It says he arrived at the
Again,
and then on a separate line, it says
again,
the time of death was
again,
1:50.
I signed plenty of death certificates on this time of death. It's based on when they come to the hospital.
And for every medical examiner or medical personnel who says 123, the next guy says 115, and the next one says 123 again. This is the body arrives. Depends on which one you're talking to.
It depends on the official
You can do-
document. That's the official document.
Yeah, I agree that's the official document. So there were witnesses, by the way, who did go to lineups and pick Oswald at the Tippit kill. I don't know if you know that.
I don't suggest they were placed for that purpose. They were placed there for that purpose.
So people like Barbara Davis.
Hoover wrote a memo, said we have to convince the American people that Oswald acted alone. We have to convince the American people. Obviously, they convinced a few.
So the Katzenbach memo kind of says the same thing in the first paragraph. And if you have the evidence and the evidence points to the hospital. And you're about to release the evidence to the country. Don't you want to do it in a responsible manner so that the country doesn't let hearsay and rumor take over about the Russians or the Cubans? You want to release the evidence in a responsible manner.
You know what Jim Lavelle said? Jim Lavelle, right? He said if we had gone to trial with Oswald on the evidence we had, he would have never been convicted. Never.
I heard that he supposedly said that.
And he believed that
He
Oswald
said
was
it to me
true.
directly in
He
1987.
believed that, but he said we would have never convicted.
I don't believe he said that.
He's a lead investigator. You don't believe he said it? Oh my God.
I've talked with Jim Lavelle probably 20 times, sat in his living room for 6 hours.
Gary's known him for 40 years.
And I guarantee you that he believed Oswald acted alone and they could have convicted Oswald.
No, he believed the act alone. So
I've got
never
the
convicted.
cassette recording of him and Tiami when I interviewed him in 1987. And he said, exactly, if we'd gone to trial on the evidence we had on Lee Harvey Oswald at the time of his death, he would have never been
Was he talking about the
convicted.
assassination of the Tippit case?
He was talking about the assassination.
So there's two different things there. And maybe he said that about the assassination. Yeah.
Why did they?
If you're saying he said it, I can accept that he said it about the assassination.
Okay, but again, let me ask you this question. Why did the police notify the media that Oswald was charged with a crime of killing the president, but they didn't tell Oswald? He had his midnight press conference at 12:15, and they said, you have been charged. Yet the document doesn't say till 1:10 in the morning.
For the Kennedy case, yes.
Yes.
He was charged like a 7 p.m. for the Tippit.
Yeah, I know that, but again, he said at the press conference, did you kill the president? He said, no, I haven't shot anybody down. He said, you have been charged.
Yeah.
So why did the police tell the media, but they didn't tell Oswald?
That's a good question, but what does that mean? What does that mean?
That the police was fucking tripping.
Because I don't make the. I'm not making a relationship between the two. I'm just not.
Okay, if Jesse Curry's driving the lead car, why did he pull over in the left-hand lane after the underpass when he's supposed to be taking him out to the trade park?
That's a fair question.
Okay, he knew about it in advance.
And he knew about the assassination.
Yes.
Johnson ducked behind the seat before the first shot got fired.
You want to talk about testimony? Read Rufus Youngblood's testimony. He said, I went to cover the vice president. He was already laying on the floorboard.
Johnson trying to jump on top of him, right? But Youngblood's not sure at what point during the shooting sequence that was.
I mean, you got the picture of him not in the car. You can't see him in the picture of the Hawkins photograph.
So you
got
believe in the magic bullet theory
Well,
then?
hold on.
Wait a minute.
So
Let
you
me ask
can't.
you that.
So
You believe in the magic bullet theory?
So you can't see
I can answer
LBJ. I'll definitely answer. You can't see LBJ in the photo, and you're using the Hawkins photo to tell me that LBJ ducked before the shots rang out. Yet the Hawkins photo is after 2 shots have already been fired.
It's the first shot.
No, Zapruder Fake 255 is the Hawkins photo. Zapruder Fake 255. 2 shots have been fired at least by 255. So my point is that you're using a photo that Johnson is not in to say that he ducked before the shots, and I'm telling you the photo was taken after 2 shots have already been fired.
Okay, so I'll clap my hands, and you see in 2 seconds if you can get into the table.
Why not? Shots are ringing out.
2 seconds, I'll do it right now.
And you're a vice president, and shots are ringing out. Why wouldn't you get down?
Well, because he knew about it in advance. The Secret Service car behind him was signaling him to get the fuck down.
But 2 shots already rang out by the time the photo was taken.
Again, 2 seconds. Okay, 2 seconds.
If the first shot happened at, let's just say 160, Zapruder Fake 160. So, and the Hawkins photo is taken as Zapruder Fake 255. We're talking almost 100 frames. That's over 5 seconds. Because the Zapruder film was 18.3 frames per second. So we're talking 5.5 seconds, not 2 seconds. For the time the first shot rang out to the
I
time.
still don't buy it. Again, you're trying to use the Warren Commission as proof that everything was perfect. When Rufus Youngblood said he was already on the floorboard of the car, he either knew about it in advance or he's one jumpy son of a bitch.
But I actually have not really cited the Warren Commission much at all, standing here talking to you. I'm just saying that you told me a minute ago that LBJ's not in the photo, and that's proof that he ducked before the shots. And I'm telling you, the photo you're referring to was taken 5 seconds after the first shot of the game. 2 shots are already fired by that time. The August photos are in effect 2:35. Yeah, 2 shots have already been fired by that time.
So what about the magic bullet? Blame it?
100%.
There is no bullet, no command that can stop itself in midair and turn to the right and then decide, oh, I don't like going that direction. Now I'm going to go down and move back across the other way. There is no bullet on the face of the
No,
earth.
I don't believe that, but I don't believe
And that was complete. Nobody could prove that with a projector. It was all drawn up, one guy's mind.
The guy who drew that up was a conspiracy nut. That's not Spectre. Spectre's not drawn up like that.
Okay, but let me ask you this. Your
interpretation of what
okay, well, I'll give you the magic bullet went all the way through the first one. Okay, was it on Air Force One when they went back to DC?
was what on that book.
Commission Exhibit 399. No, it was not on Air Force One. You're saying it was?
How did it get there then? Huh? It was in DC at like 7:30.
So how did they found Commission 399 at Falklands?
But again, where did it come from? How did it get to DC by 7:30 if it wasn't on Air Force One? Okay, Air Force One landed at 6. It was in the FBI's office at 7:30. So if it wasn't on Air Force One, how did that bullet get to DC?
It's not. Who says it? Like who says it's in DC?
Because it's on the FBI report that they got it at 7:30.
Warren Commission Exhibit 399.
Yes.
What FBI report?
The guy sitting there almost made the Olympic shooting team. He's a firearms instructor. He knows more about guns and bullets and projectiles than anybody you know. Ask him if he believes in the magic bullet.
I don't need that.
He'll laugh in your face.
I don't believe the bullets hit them.
Yeah, nobody's claiming the bullet hit here.
No, I don't believe it. Nobody's claiming the bullet.
So it's the Warren Commission says.
I don't think it's in the Warren. When I read the Warren Commission, I never interpreted it like that.
Here's all the time analysis of how the bullet went, who found it, who did this, who did that, who did what. Okay, that's all in there. Okay, my question is, if it wasn't on Air Force One, how did it get there by 7:30?
I don't believe it was there by 7:30.
Okay, I don't believe so. The FBI and the Secret Service agents in Washington D.C. faked all those documents.
I'll tell you this. If there's a claim that Commission Exhibit 399 was in Washington, D.C. by 7:30, I will honestly admit to you, I am not familiar with that claim.
Because I have
Never heard that claim.
Because I have a video of Dr. Robert Shaw giving a press conference at 4:15 when the bullet was supposedly on its way back to Washington D.C. Okay,
you wanna get in?
however it got there, okay. He says at 4:15 the bullet's still in his leg.
Okay.
So how do they remove
I'm
it?
actually waiting for
His
y'all.
only concern was the chest wound.
I understand that.
He knew that there was a wound to the wrist, and he knew that there was
Let me step back for you if you want to get in there anyway.
No, I'm fine.
the bullet was still in the body because they knew, because he knew Sean.
I'm Beverly Kilmer, by the way.
Hi, I'm Rob. Want to go over to you later?
So when he's working on the chest, he's trying to body. He's not aware that the bullet was down. Natural assumption that the bullet was still in the body. That's all. The operator records tells you Shaw, all Shaw did was operate on the chest, and then when he was done with the chest, they started working on the wrist while he went out to the chest. He assumed the bullet was still in the body.
But mind you wait.
None was nitpicking, ever added up to anything.
Okay. Yeah,
Ronnie said he heard the first shot, and he said it was
if you watch,
Is he up